So let's start by thinking about this personal preferences framework of thinking as something that is shaped by our childhood, our traumas, things that we've constantly been collecting from our experience with the world. There is no such thing as facts if we see it like this. So let's go to the first point that I want to make, which is art. Art ends up being something about perception. It has nothing to do with what we see, but what we perceive we're seeing. If there are two people standing in front of a canvas, one can see something that is very calm, relaxing, happiness, and the other one can be seen like pure madness. The painting doesn't choose to be interpreted a certain way. We react to our own world, to what we already have in our system. It starts repeating itself through different criterias and experiences. Then we have the psychological frameworks that we build, and we have 5 of these. The first one is the attachment framework, which is going to dictate the way that we love people. It determines how we perceive love and how it feels like to us. For example, my relationships have been built by past relationships. Most of the time it's going to be like that. But it's also going to be determined by the trauma. So the relationship that I have with my mom and my dad throughout my childhood is going to be my measuring tape. So let's say I've had relationships that haven't lasted more than 3 months. So this is going to be very interesting to see how the next relationships that I'm going to try to engage myself with, it's going to be a little bit more chaotic and passion driven, because that's what I relate to love the most. It's the anxiety, it's the excitement that I feel towards a person or how they are making me feel instead of how I see them. So the intensity with what you see love, it's not going to depend on this person, it's going to depend on what you expect from this person. Then we have the second thing, which is the abundance and scarcity framework. How we measure something that is enough. This is shaped and formed by the stability that we had growing up, how much money we had and how much we got used to spend. So happiness in this case is not going to be measured by the wealth, but it's going to be measured by how wealth feels like, if it's related to like anxiety or something that brings us insecurity, or we're comfortable with that feeling. And to make an example about this is that my family from my dad's side has always taught me that abundance is going to be in your life, and it doesn't depend on money, right? It depends on love, it depends on security, on freedom. So the wealth that I can even achieve, yes, it's going to depend on the money that I have to go through my extent and actually achieve this happiness, achieve this love and intensity that I'm living things with. But it's not going to be dependent on the amount of money, but what I do with the money. Then we have the safety framework, right? And this is basically what danger means to us. For most of us, danger is going to be like we feel like we are not safe anymore. But if you see it from a deeper level, for some people, danger is going to feel like insecurity. When you feel like you cannot predict someone's next step, or you feel criticized by the way that they see the world. It even means that this danger that we see is so unconscious that we are going to distance ourselves from people that make us feel different than what safety looks like. So for some people, that means loneliness, right? They are safe being alone. So like this closeness that they are going to get with some people is going to be a danger. Another one is the value framework, what we actually think that makes us worthy. In many cases, this is the praising for their goals, right? They achieved something, they need to be praised in order to feel valued. They have certain expectations, certain failures that they fear are going to devalue them. But when you come across some people that do not see this as something that gives you value, you're going to stop constantly trying to prove yourself, but you're not going to feel in your area because you basically grew up or you learned that you were loved the moment that you were accepted or approved or praised for something that you did. So you're not going to be familiar with being praised and valued for nothing. Another criteria is the meaning framework, also known as symbolic, because it's about the things that we feel give meaning to some things. There's people, especially in relationships, that think that certain things should go this way, right? If you love someone, you ultimately have to get married through a church in order to it be meaningful, right? And there's also many people that say like, we love each other, but we don't need to prove that in front of a church or a priest to be so deeply in love and make this meaningful. And this meaning framework is going to be dictating the culture, religion, idols, movies that we saw, or even our ideal concept of certain situations. This is why certain people only chase aesthetics, only chase power, only chase peace, because their meaning of structure is different than us. So we have an invisible architecture of our minds, right? That is going to be built by certain things. These measurements, these frameworks that I'm talking to you about are going to be bricks that are going to build walls with another person. These can either be bridges or walls. So we measure happiness, love, success so different than the people around us. And that is beautiful because we don't have an objective rule for happiness, for power. All of this we're building as a society, putting our own bricks into building a concept. So there's no such thing as universal measurements. It's always going to be by our own personal frameworks. So the world outside, it's going to be very abstract. Everything that we call reality is a self-portrait of us. So think about this. Art is not going to exist without a viewer. And the perception that we have on this specific painting or any type of artwork that we're listening, feeling, it's not going to exist without the perceiver. The more that we think about, the deeper that we think about our relationships and how these frameworks are sometimes stopping us to connect fully with somebody else. When you meet someone, when you are being friends with someone or getting to know a person, you will have to give up some of these bricks in order to understand them fully or where they come from. That's why context is really important, and that's why seeing the other person is going to give meaning to the relationship. We have two questions that are going to be regarding ourselves and our bricks, the frameworks that we've built. The first one is, what am I comparing this to? When you start seeing yourself as something like a victim, or you feel like you're being taken advantage of, why is this happening? What am I comparing this to? This way that you feel about your feelings are going to be warning signs, because you need to be at peace with your own frameworks. The second question is, what memory is this feeling attached to help you understand and navigate these feelings a better way and a more open way? Because the moment that you start questioning yourself, you grow. Then we have to notice our emotional echoes that we have. The first question for this is, when have I felt this before? What moment made you feel the same way, and what you did to get out, and how was the outcome? Or whose voice is this in my head? So most of the time, as I said, if we are relating these situations to our past traumas unconsciously, we sometimes hear external voices, not ourselves. So judge that and think twice before making a decision of an echo that is not even built from you or from your desires. Rebuild your inner metrics. So the first question, and this is really powerful, is what would this feel like if I wasn't afraid? If you weren't afraid of the outcome or feeling a certain way, what would you do? What would this mean if I wasn't repeating my past? The moment that you repeat your past, you are attaching yourself to the same results. If you want to achieve better outcomes, you need to change the way that you perceive things, because it's all about perceptions again. That's what shapes your reality. Because at the end of the day, there's no such thing as seeing the world clearly, like knowing the truth behind everyone's intentions. There's only seeing it with honesty from your own heart, your own soul. What is your mind trying to tell you? And what is it warning you about? Because these frameworks can also be very related to your gut, to your instincts. If you lived with a person that had narcissistic behaviors, you're going to be more adequate to recognize those patterns in new people that you meet, and it's going to save you from past situations that you didn't feel good with. So your mind is actually going to become an artist, constantly repainting your life, your reality, to match what's inside you, what you truly want to become. That's why you have to have your clear goals and the path that you need to follow to achieve those goals in order to understand what are the frameworks that is not letting you get to that point. And that is the objective of this whole video, to not see the world as something like straight, but to learn the art of seeing yourself, of looking back at yourself, at your soul, because it's all going to be repeating. And if you don't cut those patterns or relearn certain methods in order to navigate through life, you're not going to have a different outcome. And it is very hard to understand this part because of social media. I believe that we are sometimes exposed to other people's perspective on certain situations. Like the first example that I can tell you about, and that happens to me a lot all the time, it's about love. It's about navigating relationships or dating even. How am I going to be able to see if this person wants to play with me or is actually serious with their intentions? And the internet is going to teach you many strategies in order to learn this. But I think there are two sides of the coin with this part, because yes, in one point, you are deconstructing the way that you see relationships and how you navigate this world of exploring another person's perspective on life and what they want, and match that with what you want. But the other side is that you are actually building something from somebody else's experiences. That can either be good if their experiences were good, but if you're seeing a creator that only wants to be more manipulative than actually having a true meaningful relationship, if you want that, it's going to be very harmful, because you're going to be comparing this person to what you learn all the time. You're not going to let yourself feel fully these situations. And it's also with friends, and it's also with family. Their advices for you are going to be based on their perception on life, not yours. So take this with a grain of salt and understand that their perception is going to be what leads them to give you an advice, rather than them understanding your life in order to give you an advice. Like, they can do their best, but it's still going to be shaped by their personal frameworks. So I invite you to doubt, to explore, to just think about your next move as something that you need to question all the time. Before doing or making any move that you feel is going to be a little bit risky, ask yourself, why are you doing that? Or when you respond to someone treating you badly, know where you come from. Know what you're doing. Do you want to hurt this person back? Or do you actually want to heal from this situation fully and just never involve yourself? That is going to help you a lot. And I say this personally because I've been involving myself in different topics and different ways of thinking. I love learning. I love reading. I think reading can open new perspectives on you. And if the book is well written, it's going to open something inside of you. You are part of the universe, and you are the universe itself. You are the way that you see things. And I feel like my concept of change is so inherently that I do not see change as something bad. If you meet me right now, and probably the videos that I'm going to make like in 2 months or 3 months are going to be so different, because I let my soul get touched by the things that I experience. I open my heart, and the walls that I create with these personal frameworks are broken when something touches my soul. And live in this constant battle with the frameworks that I've already built and the frameworks that I'm building. And I see life as that. Getting new perceptions on life, understanding where people come from, being always kind. I think that should be a constant in your life, because if you perceive this and you understand this, you know actually when a person is going through certain psychological battles and you understand them. You don't blame them or you don't get mad at them when they change their behavior in certain topics. Like for me, for example, that changed behavior was really noticeable when I realized that going out to parties or going out to do nothing with my friends was something that really took a lot of time that I could spend on something that could be more fulfilling. And this changed something inside of me, and a lot of people in my life just distanced themselves because we were used to going out, and now I don't go out, so there's nothing there anymore. So the friends that stood with me understood my change and grew with me. And life is about that, growing. If you enjoy this video as I did making it, I highly suggest you subscribing. Please do it and give it a like. I am on a mission to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If you want to help me get that, please share this video with your friends. And if they need a new perspective on things, they will probably appreciate you sending this to them. Love you a lot and hope you have a great week. And don't forget to buy my poetry book. I make poetry. I'm so obsessed with writing my feelings, and I worked on this book nonstop because I also have a lot of artwork there, and you're going to love it. And you can get 20% off with the link in my description. Bye. Love you.